Part 27. Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 261. Chapter 261 Apology or Compensation. Yao hesitated to say anything, whether she wanted to ask him, but Yao walked straight towards her, answered the phone several times, and then hung up the Bluetooth. Have you heard about Su Jinran? Su-Yun was startled. Boss, do you want to be so direct? I heard that there is a Miss Su, but I don't know her name. Su-Yun nodded and said frankly. He waved to her, pulled her to sit down together, and then told her bluntly, her name is Su Jinran, and she is Su Changjiang's sister. Oh, she is the one who climbed the wall at our house last time and had a meal. Oh, after saying this, Su-Yun was impressed. However, these two brothers and sisters are also funny. One climbed the wall and was electrocuted, and shamelessly asked for help. The other came to ask for help, but he found the wrong person. As expected, he was born from the same parents. Most of his brains are a bit screwed up. Don't you want to know who she is? Yao originally wanted to tell her the story, but seeing that she seemed to be uninterested, it was inexplicably a bit disappointing. Why wasn't she jealous at all? Aren't you talking about that? After blinking, he took the initiative to explain. If he had any other questions, just listen. Yao was very dissatisfied as he simply didn't know what to say to her. Aren't you jealous? Why should I be jealous? She is your ex-girlfriend. What if it is? Yao suddenly wanted to see her reaction, so he said this deliberately. Su-Yun nodded. Oh. I really doubt whether there is something wrong with my ears, or if there is something wrong with the woman's head. It's such a simple oh. Dismissed him with just the word oh. Su-Yun, tell the truth, do you like me? He turned around, took her hands, looked into her eyes, and looked at her seriously. What's the meaning? Su-Yun continued to nod honestly. I like it. Of course she likes him, otherwise, why would she want to marry him, and why would she want to stay with him forever? If you really like me, do you not mind other women? Do you mind if I have an ex-girlfriend? Do you mind if I have a love rival? Isn't this what all women care about the most? But her reaction was probably a little too bland. Only then did Su-Yun realize that this was what he was thinking. Seeing his dissatisfied look, she couldn't help but laugh. She took her hands out of his hands and pinched his face. Fool. I don't mind other women, but she must have something that makes me mind. We are already ex-girlfriends, why do I still care about her? If she is so important in your heart, nothing will happen to me. After a pause, she continued, besides, on your terms, is it strange to have an ex-girlfriend? It would be strange not to have one. Yao's reaction was a bit strange. He clenched his free hand into a fist, put it to his lips and coughed twice. Looking at his appearance, Su-Yun was a little curious. Are you okay? An idea flashed in her mind, and she said, don't you think, you really don't have an ex-girlfriend? How could it be possible? Given his conditions, even if he doesn't have any wealth or anything like that, his face alone is enough to attract a lot of love, not to mention his family background, wealth, etc. How many people are coveting him? Has he ever had a girlfriend? So what if I don't? It's an advantage for you, he snorted softly, but his cheeks had a suspicious blush. It's cheap, but... Su-Yun still put her hands on his cheeks and tilted her head to look left and right. This face, no matter from any angle, was flawless. Really no woman would pounce on me like crazy. The following sentence was thought in my heart, and I said it unknowingly. Yao's eyes suddenly sank, he grabbed her restless little hands and suppressed her. Do you think every woman is as bold as you? Yes, he is indeed very attractive based on his conditions, but only he knows how much he has gone through from when he took over the Si family to when he took up this position. In such a situation, he has no thoughts or thoughts to think about other things. Besides, there is Su Jinran, who is always happy to drive away all the female animals around him. Although Su Jinran's obsession makes him tireless, it is better to be annoyed by one person than by a group of people. So when Su Jinran drove those people away, he never said a word, and it had nothing to do with him anyway. But now, he has warned not to touch his people, and if she still doesn't listen, he must take action. Su Yun could not refute. In retrospect, it was indeed very bold. She approached him for help and he said marriage, so she agreed. That was probably the most daring thing in her life. After staring at her for a while, Sci-Yao touched her nose with the tip of his nose and then straightened up. Su Jinran is not my ex-girlfriend. She is just relatively familiar with me. I regard her as my sister, but she is not willing. The relationship was clearly explained in a few simple sentences, so what else did she need to cross-examine? Even if you want to make her jealous, give her a chance to be jealous. Then, you also know about the fact that she is looking for Arian. Just think about it with your toes. Su Feng is there, how could you not know about it? Su Feng knew it, so he must have known it too. I know. Nodding slightly, he paused and said, there is a little problem now. Turned to look at her and said, Wu Arian beat him up? It really is. When Arian called, she said she had beaten the woman. She thought she was just talking about it, but she didn't expect that she actually did it. I didn't see it. That little girl was usually bouncing around, and she was very loyal and focused on friendship, but Su Yun never expected that she would dare to do something like start a fight with someone. Then, was the beating serious? What do you mean? Do you need an apology? Or compensation? After thinking about it, it's just these two results. Shaking his head, Sci-Yao also listened to Su Feng's report. With Su Feng here, it should be serious. As for the rest, let's see what the Su family says first. Arian did it because of me. If she needs an apology and compensation, I will do it for her. She is not to blame for this, Su Yun said seriously. Even though she didn't know it, in the final analysis, it was because of her that Arian was involved. No matter what the reason was, she would not let Arian take on that responsibility again. However, Sci-Yao looked at her in surprise. What are you talking about? Even if there is an apology or compensation, it will be Su Jinran's apology and the Su family's compensation. Su Yun. In his house, he touched his people and smashed his things, and he still wants his woman to apologize and pay compensation? If this kind of thing could happen, Sci-Yao's name could be written backwards. End of this chapter. Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 262. Chapter 262. I don't have a younger brother. Yoon Chugsu returned home after shopping and saw her mother alone. She knew that her mother had made a special trip to wait for her. Mom, she called with a smile, walked over quickly, and put down the bag in her hand. I bought 2 new scarves for Dad. I saw that the new styles were good, so I bought 2 for you too. See if you like it. With that said, she opened the bag and was about to take it out. No need for now, leave it there, Yao Ying said. Shwe, come here. He called her to come over and sit down next to him, and then ordered someone to go to the kitchen to bring over the bird's nest cup that had been stewed. Finally, he waved his hand to signal the other servants to leave, and their mother and daughter were the only ones in the room. 2 people. Mom, do you have something to tell me? Yoon Chugsu looked around and said with a smile. Yao Ying nodded, her gentle eyes wandering on her face. She raised her hand and gently smoothed her broken hair. Shwe, time flies so fast, you have grown so big. Mom, what you're saying is that I didn't grow up overnight, you watched me grow up. She chuckled and bent down to pick up the bird's nest. Yes, Yao Ying said with emotion, I gave birth to you, and I watched you grow up. You are very smart, but it's a pity. She did not say the rest of the words, looking a little sad. Yoon Chug-seo naturally knew what she didn't say, but it was a pity that she was a girl and could not inherit the Yoon family's property. Despite what society is like now, the Yoon family is still very conservative at heart, and men must inherit the family business. The Yoon family is short of men. The uncle only has one son, but he is not focused on business yet. In their family, she is the only daughter. Oh, no, her father also has an illegitimate son, but he has no genealogy in the Yoon family, so even if he is a leader, he cannot inherit the Yoon family's property openly. It was precisely because of this that her father and mother quarreled, because her father wanted to bring in the illegitimate child and let her mother admit that the outside child had entered the Yoon family's family tree, and then the son could inherit the family property. How ridiculous! Let his wife accept a child he had with a woman outside and give everything he has to this child. Why does he think that the mother will agree to him? Sometimes I really feel that her father's mind is broken. Mom, the bird's nest today tastes particularly delicious, she smiled and changed the topic, always avoiding awkward questions in a timely manner to make the atmosphere less weird. Yao Ying naturally knew her intentions, and felt even more satisfied and guilty towards her. Shwe, you are already so old, and I don't want to hide some things from you anymore. You don't want to hide anything about your father and me anymore. I can see that you also know what's going on at home. I actually want to ask today, what do you think? The hand holding the bird's nest cup paused, and she smiled softly. What do I think? Mom, what do you mean by this? What can I think? Shwe, you know you have a younger brother. I don't have a brother, Yoon Chug-seo interrupted her and said decisively, Mom, you and Dad only gave birth to one of me, have you forgotten? I don't have a brother. Yao Ying sighed faintly, feeling a little tired. Yes, but you don't admit it, and I don't want to admit it, but your father is determined to recognize his son. What should I do? It's been so many years, and it's not been a day or two since Dad wanted to admit him. If it was really that easy, I wouldn't keep asking for your opinion. Mom, you are still very important in this family, she replied, turning around. He said seriously. Of course she knows that she is important. If it weren't for her importance, Yoon Jong-cheng would have divorced her long ago and then married that vixen. She has turned a blind eye for so many years because she doesn't want to do things too badly. There are a few men who don't cheat outside. As long as they don't go too far, she can get by and maintain the superficial stability of her life. But these 2 days in the year, Yoon Bo-kin's health was not in good condition, and the boss's side was already in decline. Seeing that there was no suitable successor, Yoon Jong-chen was moved. He has always wanted to take charge of the Yoon family, but his elder brother is suppressing him. Now is a good opportunity, so he wants to take that back and inherit the family business. Yes, from the overall perspective, Yao Ying naturally hopes that her husband can be in charge of the entire Yoon family. In this way, her identity will be different. How can the head of the Yoon family, who is a serious person, be the same as a collateral branch? However, if the price is to accept that into the house, she will never accept it. As long as this step is given, the next step, I am afraid that the woman will follow her into the house. By then, there will be no place for their mother and daughter. She has worked hard for so many years, but she has made a wedding dress for others. But if your father is determined to do this, I'm afraid he won't be able to stop him. In the past 2 years, he has gone from the initial temptation to the showdown with her face to face. She doesn't believe that there is no instigation from that woman behind it. Who knows whether he will make up his mind to take the person over regardless of her opinion. Come in? Mom, why are you stopping him? You and Dad have been married for so many years, and you still don't know his temper? The more you stop him, the more you don't let him do something, he will do it. If you stop him, you will only do it. It makes him more determined. His heart will only move towards the outside. Yoon Chug-seo is gentle and soft-spoken. She has always been well-behaved and quiet. In this circle of famous ladies, she is known as a role model. Many people will use her as an example. Look at how gentle Miss Yoon is. Quiet and knowledgeable. Her analysis was clear and logical, and it made people feel as if the matter had nothing to do with her. She was just an outsider analyzing the situation and making suggestions, rather than something that was directly related to her. But can I not stop them? If I don't stop them, what will we do if the mother and son really get in? Haha. Yoon Chug-seo laughed softly. She had finished eating the bird's nest. She put down the bowl. She wiped the corners of her mouth gracefully, and then looked at her mother. Mom, you are such a smart person, why are you so stupid about this matter? I can't understand it. Are you confused? If you stop Dad, you may not be able to stop this matter, but if you don't stop Dad, they may not be able to get in. Her eyes fell lightly towards the door. The Yoon family's the threshold is so high that not everyone can get in if they want to. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 263. Chapter 263 I Stand With You. Her words made Yao Ying's mind a lot clearer. Yeah, why do you have to stop your husband? He wanted the mother and son to come in, so just let them in. She could let go, but it was not certain whether they could come in smoothly. What's more, if you take a step back 10,000 steps, just after entering the door, you will definitely be able to sit safely. To take a step back, if they really come in, but they are under your nose, this person will live with headaches and fever all his life. There are so many natural and man-made disasters. Who can be so smooth? There is always something to be prepared for. Yoon Chug-seo speak out everything that's on her mind. Yao Ying, who was still troubled at first, felt as if she had been enlightened and suddenly became clear. She is a smart person to begin with, and she can figure it out by herself with just a little bit of thinking, but it was just because of the relationship that she was a little confused for a while. After thinking about it, she looked at her daughter carefully again. The more she looked at her, the more she felt that she had underestimated her before. The more she looked at her, the more she felt that she had some of the abilities and means she had when she was young. Shwe, you are really smart and very much like your mother. If. She stopped suddenly, looking a little unnatural. If Luo Yuanhang could be like this sister, she wouldn't have to worry so much. Thinking of the child, I had scolded him a few times about what happened last time, and now, there is no news at all. The company under his name has gone bankrupt, and the person seems to have disappeared from the world. She didn't dare to look for it in a big way, so she could only send people to look for it secretly in private, but she couldn't find any clues. I'm afraid I couldn't stand the shock in my heart and hid somewhere, alas. Mom, don't worry, I will definitely stand with you on this matter, Yoon Chug-seo said coquettishly, holding her arms with both hands. She is Mom's baby girl after all. Yao Ying gently touched her cheek and said with a smile, by the way, you are not young anymore. When are you going to get a boyfriend? Bring it back and show it to Mom. Mom. Yoon Chug-seo stopped and shook her arm and said, I'm on the same side as you, but you still make fun of me like this. Yao Ying said seriously, who are you making fun of? I'm serious. If you don't bring one back, I'm afraid your father will make arrangements for you. Yoon Chug-seo was shocked. Dad, did you say that? I didn't say it directly, but I mentioned it. You are so smart. You should know that as a child of the Yoon family, some things cannot be done by your heart. But in this matter, my mother also supports you. I believe in my daughter's vision. The implication is that you can't ignore family status. You can find someone you like, but it must be the right one. Yoon Chug-seo felt relieved when she heard that she hadn't decided on which one yet. Mom, if Dad mentions it again, just tell him directly that I have someone. Really? Yao Ying was very happy. Which family are you from? How old are you? Have we met? Do you know each other? Mom, don't be so anxious. When the time comes, I will definitely bring him to see you, but not yet. I promise, whether it is status or appearance, I will definitely satisfy you, he said confidently. Yao Ying still believes in her daughter's words. Her daughter is Bing Xiu, who is smart and has great vision and ideas. Sometimes, she feels that she is not as considerate and long-term as her daughter, so when she says these words, she absolutely trusts her. This made me feel relieved and patted her hand and said, Shwe, you are my mother's greatest comfort. Even though Soo-yoon was mentally prepared, she was still startled when she saw Yan. She had several scratches on her face. Although she applied ointment, she was still slightly swollen. Didn't you say that you beat her? Why did she look so embarrassed? Arian was still proud. It's necessary. Didn't you see that I beat her until her teeth were all over the floor? Oh, it was so ugly to cry. She was so proud that when she met Soo-yoon's confused gaze, she raised her hand and touched her cheek. She touched the bruises and then said, hey, it's a little bruise. I was scratched accidentally, yes. You know, fighting is always inevitable, but she is much worse than me, so I still beat her. She cannot lose her face. Even if she loses the honor, she is still something to be proud of. Shaking her head speechlessly, Soo-yoon looked carefully and found that there was nothing else except a few obvious injuries, so she warned, don't be so impulsive in the future. After all, Soo Jin-ran also has some background. Yao is carrying him this time. What if he encounters another tough nut to crack next time? I'm fine, Arian smiled. Besides, you also know my temper. Who have I fought with after all this time? If she hadn't spoken too harshly and bullied others too much, I wouldn't have bothered to pay attention to her. Besides, she was the one who made the first move at that time, otherwise, Arian would not have thought of making a move. Well, I'm the one who got you involved this time, Soo-yoon said. I bought you some supplements and put them in the locker. You can get them yourself later. Really, how can this be so embarrassing? She said this, but her next sentence was to say with a smile, since it's hard to refuse such kindness, I'll accept it. Forget about other things, you can't miss the delicious food. In any case, the mood when looking at this girl is much better, and she is no longer as depressed as before. Although it is difficult to get over the pain of losing a loved one for a while, people always have to look forward. By the way, I'm already looking for a new place. Tell Mr. Si that we'll move when I've found it, Arian said. So urgent, Soo-yoon thought for a moment, but didn't stop her, but it's okay. Since Miss Soo can come to the door, maybe others will find her too. Don't involve you for no reason. It's better to change places. At this point, she did not advise her. Anyway, if she worked harder on the project, she could still easily earn the rent. Well. Woo Arian pondered for a moment. It was obvious that she had something to say, but she couldn't say it out loud. With your temper, can you hold back your words? If you have anything to say it quickly. If you don't say it, I won't listen. Soo-yoon really knew her very well. Seeing her look like that, he could guess what she was talking about. What to think? Actually, it's nothing. I just want to say that based on the conditions of Mr. Si, will there be too many peach blossoms in the past, and will you have to deal with many such women in the future? Although it is none of her own business, Arian feels overwhelmed when she thinks about it. End of this chapter. Si Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 264. Chapter 264. This is a big misunderstanding. When she mentioned this, Suyun thought of what Yao said about never having a girlfriend, and couldn't help but smile. No way. Why not? You didn't see the ferocious look on that woman's face as she said that. She took a step forward, held one hand in front of her chest, and held it as if holding a bag, and raised her eyes. With a completely arrogant attitude, I'm telling you, leave him quickly. Not just any woman can enter the SI family. Do you think you really fly to the branch? Give me a price. How much is it? Are you willing to leave him? Is 5 million enough? Su Genran's words, coupled with her processing and exaggeration, as well as her deliberately pinched throat and bossy demeanor, made Suyun laugh out loud and cry, "That's enough? Are you going to laugh me to death?" Oh, it's true. Seeing that she didn't believe it, Arian stamped her feet and continued, "Oh, that's right, stomping her feet is also her action, not mine. I've seen women like you a lot. Don't you just want money? How much? 2 to 3 billion? Are you crazy?" He shook his head and stretched his fingers forward, very vividly. Holding the table with one hand, Suyun laughed so hard that she almost squatted down. Ha ha ha. Zhao Xian also came at some point. Apparently he took in her words and performance and laughed out loud. "Manager Zhao," Arian quickly stood up straight and stopped studying. "If you don't work hard, why are you performing in a big show here? Why, do you want to be a star?" After coughing twice, Zhao Xian walked in quickly with a straight face. Arian curled her lips and said, "I just want to be a business owner, but I don't have the capital." She still knows what she is like. She is just an ordinary girl. She is an ordinary person in the first place. But with a beautiful woman like Suyun as a comparison, she seems much mediocre. Actually, Miss Su yesterday, I can honestly say, she is pretty good looking, but she is too domineering and her speech is unpleasant, so, well, she is not good looking, she is so ugly. You really want to go? Zhao Xian turned around and said after putting down the things in his hands on the table. No, no, I'm just kidding. Arian waved her hand and leaned her head. Manager Zhao, what are you bringing here? Information. What else can I get? Can I bring you a bunch of snacks? Zhao Xian said half jokingly. Okay, not good. She shook her head hesitantly. She was not stupid enough to pretend that she couldn't hear the words. I just want to ask, what kind of information is this and what aspects is it about? Zhao Xian did not answer her, but pursed her lips in the direction of Suyun. Ask your leader. I was recently working on a new Marseille soap task, but I always felt that it was still a little bit behind, and I couldn't tell where the difference was, so I asked Sister Zhao to take over all the information about Marseille soap and look through it to see if she had any ideas. Taking over the conversation, Zhao Xian continued, I was originally worried that she would be too busy, but now that you are back from vacation, it's much better. Your absence these days has made your sister Yun very busy. By the way, it said that 2 assistants will be assigned to you. You can take the time to choose one. Thinking of this, Zhao Xian said. No need, Suyun said without raising her head while flipping through the information. Now I just need Arian. The more assistants the better when it comes to perfume making. Sometimes too many people can cause chaos. Okay then. Zhao Xian didn't force anyone to do anything, and put a hand on Arian's shoulder, leaned against her, and looked at her with a meaningful smile. But having said that, Arian won't be here for a long time, so then you still have to find a new assistant. Ah, why? After hearing this, Suyun raised her head and looked at Arian in surprise. Are you going to change jobs? Arian shook her head in confusion. No. It's not about job hopping, but after you get married to Mr. Si, you no longer have to be a young mistress, but can you still show your face as an assistant? Before the two people could speak, Zhao Xian continued, Okay, little girl, I didn't see how you could hide it. It's deep enough. Yan. Suyun. This is a big misunderstanding. Mr. Zhao, where did you hear these false rumors? Mr. Si and I have nothing to do with each other. She raised her hands to express her innocence. The principal is still here, so I don't dare to grab a seat. Zhao Xian thought she didn't want to admit it, so she patted her shoulder and said, okay, there are no outsiders here, so you don't have to pretend. The photos have been taken, do you have to wait until the wedding day to tell us? Photo? What photo? It was only then that Suyun reacted belatedly. It's in newspapers and magazines, and also online. Haven't you read the reports? Zhao Xian was even more surprised than them. Such shocking news, how come they don't know about it? The two of them shook their heads together and looked at each other. Because they were in a bad mood recently and they were busy with other things, they didn't read much news and gossip. No one knew what photos there were. You two are really good, Zhao Xian said helplessly, and then she took out her mobile phone and looked through it, and found a report point for them to see. Here, is this photo displayed? Is this man above our company? Boss. Is this woman you? Said while poking with his finger, looking at Arian while poking. Woo Arian. Looking at it this way, from this angle, it seems, it's really her. It looked as if Mr. Si was looking at her, but the photo was quite blurry. People outside may not be able to see clearly, but who am I? I can tell it's you at a glance, so, what else are you hiding? Why don't you tell me the truth? He scratched her creaky pit twice with his fingers, causing her to giggle and duck away. Suyun, stop her, we must make her tell the truth today. Sister Zhao, you could tell it was me at a glance. Didn't you see that besides me and Mr. Si, there were other people in the photo? Arian said and looked at Suyun, trying to find out what she meant. Is there anyone else? Zhao Xian stopped and lowered his head and squinted his eyes. There are still people who are hospital staff and Mr. C's bodyguards. Do you think I'm stupid? You girl, don't you think of us as friends? You actually hid it from us, right, Suyun? She sought resonance, but Suyun remained silent. Suyun. Sister Zhao, I should have told you about this a long time ago. But. Suyun raised her hand and rubbed her nose, looking at her with both eyes. Actually, the person who is with Si Yao is not Yan. It's not Arian. Do you know who it is? Zhao Xian looked at her with wide eyes, and the more he looked at her, the more he felt something was wrong. Looking at her, then at Arian, thinking about what they said, he lowered his head and looked at the pictures on the phone carefully, and opened them up with his fingers. Finally I saw half of the figure at the edge. As she said, she can recognize people she is familiar with at a glance. End of this chapter. Si Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 265. Chapter 265 I don't know about co-authorship. You. Although the answer was already obvious, Zhao Xian still found it unbelievable. You. What, can't I do it? Looking at her reaction, Suyun felt funny. If she had known that her reaction was so funny, she might have considered telling her earlier. It's not impossible. It's not, this. This turn of events came so suddenly that Zhao Xian couldn't accept it. It's actually you. But there are rumors outside that. Sister Yun and Mr. Si went to the hospital to see me that day, but at that time my attention was on my mother. There was something wrong with the angle of the photo. It looked like it was misplaced, so there was such a misunderstanding, Arian explained. When she mentioned her mother, she felt a little sad again. Oh, if you look at it this way, it is indeed like this. After looking at it carefully again, Zhao Xian realized that there was indeed something wrong with the angle of the photo. These reporters are really, they don't even know the gossip. It almost hurt me. What a joke. Soo-yoon gently put her hand on Arian's shoulder, comforting her with silent actions. Although her mother's incident was indeed very sad, many days had passed, and she was also learning to be strong, so she was only slightly sad and was not too immersed in grief. At first, Soo-yoon couldn't quite understand why Soo Jin-ran found the wrong person. Now that she sees this photo, she can probably understand. It seems that Arian is taking the blame for her this time. You hit it deeply enough, Zhao Xian, who came back to his senses, slapped Soo-yoon the shoulder. You didn't even tell me what happened. By the way, you also know, right? What are you doing? Did you know that at that time? You two went too far, hiding it from me. Zhao Xian looked angry as she crossed her arms over her chest. Arian said quickly, I know it didn't take long. I didn't hide this from you on purpose. It was really. After looking at Soo-yoon, she didn't know how to explain it. This matter is indeed my fault. Because of his special status, I don't want to make my relationship with him public. After a pause, Soo-yoon continued, you know, when I was a freshman, there were many. If my relationship with him were made public early, I wouldn't be able to do my job with peace of mind. In fact, even now, there are still all kinds of doubts, but it doesn't matter. She has passed her own level. At least she has proven her strength here and she can get it internationally. The award and the recognition from Mr. Will gave her great encouragement. She wanted to rely on her own hands and abilities to achieve better results. Ah, that's true. Zhao Xian suddenly realized that she had been so repulsed by her doubts about her, let alone other people, but, if you had really made your relationship public, you would have walked away a lot less. Detour. Even if some people may question it, no one dares to really make things difficult for you. Thinking about the backer behind her, even if he was not happy, he could only turn a blind eye and let her in. However, he would never arrange any substantive work for her, and would only hang her up. Just think that the company has raised an idle person. Soo-yoon smiled and said, yes. No one dares to make things difficult, but no one dares to use me. At least Sister Zhao, you will never let me enter the laboratory. Even if you do let me in, you will not give me anything. Any project is done, right? The words touched Zhao Xian's heart, and she also laughed. It's good that you know. After all, after being together for such a long time, I know her abilities and skills. Even if I know about her relationship with Si Yao, I won't think that she is just a person who relies on backers. It really surprised me. Mr. Wang also knows about it, right? Zhao Xian was very emotional, but she has gradually digested and accepted it. Soo-yoon nodded. I didn't know about the co-authorship, she feigned anger. No, it should be said that not many people know about it. Soo-yoon apologized sincerely, I am indeed sorry for hiding this from you. Zhao Xian stared at her for a while, then waved his hand, okay, I forgive you. She is not that stingy, not to mention that this is a private matter. Whether she talks about it or not is actually her own business. By the way, I found all the information you asked for here. See if there is anything that can be used. The company is actually pressing hard. After all, after the research is successful, it will be put into production immediately. Zhao Xian started talking about work seriously. Soo-yoon nodded, I know. In fact, it's almost done. We just need the last step. If it succeeds, it can be officially put into production. Arian, come here and help me. Joking aside, I am still very serious when I work. Unconsciously, the day passed quickly. When Soo-yoon left, she saw Si Yao's car coming to pick her up and parked at the entrance of the company. He was really becoming more and more upright now. Is it so early today? Soo-yoon rubbed her neck and closed the car door. Si Yao said, turn around. Turn around, he said again. She turned her back to him with a suspicious look on her face, and then she felt a pair of hands fall on her shoulders, gently squeezing her shoulders. "No need, I'm just a little sore from hanging my head down for a long time, I just need to move around on my own and it'll be fine," she said hurriedly. "Don't move." With a little force, he pinched her shoulders and massaged her naturally. Not to mention, when his sore shoulders were held with appropriate force, the uncomfortable feeling dissipated a lot. She immediately fell into this comfort, relaxed comfortably, and enjoyed his services. "I told Zhao Xian about our relationship today," she closed her eyes and said quietly. Si Yao responded casually. Her reaction was very interesting, but it scared her. "You know what? I feel like she believed that Arian was with you, but didn't believe that it was us." It's funny, thinking about that, she still couldn't help laughing. Hearing her uncontrollable laughter, Si Yao came over gently and said close to her face, "Is it so funny?" His approach made her open her eyes and turn to look at him. "I was thinking that if it were officially made public, it would definitely be a sensation." "Hasn't it been made public?" he said disapprovingly. "Hasn't the photo been published?" "Photos? Do you know photos?" She turned around and refused to let him click. She was surprised. "Of course," he said. "If I didn't agree, how dare they publish the photo?" Suyun. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 266. Chapter 266. Are you laughing at me? So, that photo was approved by him? Didn't he see that the angle of the photo was wrong at all, and would it cause misunderstanding? Have you seen the photo? Suyun asked again. Si Yao shook his head. He was so busy. After his assistant came to ask him that day, he nodded in agreement and stopped asking about the matter. All he knew was that newspapers and magazines had published this gossip. He wanted to read it out, but every time he tried to read it, something else always interrupted him, and he forgot about it. It wasn't until she mentioned it now that remembered again. "What, did you see it? How was the photo? Does it look like we are right?" he asked with interest. Suyun couldn't laugh or cry. "Get right? If you are too right, everyone who is right will be half and half. They just make a pair. See for yourself." Open the search page, flip through it, find the news, and then open it for him to read. Si Yao. He squinted his eyes and looked at it seriously for a while. "What about you?" "Yes. What about me?" Suyun nodded seriously and pointed to the corner next to her. "Who do you think this is?" After staring at it for a while, Si Yao put down her cell phone, picked up his own, and made a direct call. "Whose newspaper did you say took my photo?" "I don't know what was said on the other side of the phone." He added, "Notify the other side that the reporter who took the photo can be laid off." Suyun. Is it so cruel? Can someone be laid off with just one phone call? Sure enough, this man's behavior is truly devilish. "You can't just blame me for this, right?" she whispered. "Didn't I ask for your permission? But I didn't see it being taken like this. How stupid are you? This kind of photo can be posted outside." He was very angry. "What the hell? Perhaps people originally thought that you and Arian were a couple." Si Yao narrowed his eyes dangerously. "Are you laughing at me?" "How dare I?" She stuck out her tongue, but the smile on her lips betrayed her duplicity. "I just think it's more difficult for Arian, and she has to take the blame for me. Don't worry, I will help you get justice." Suyun. Soon, she understood what he meant. When the car drove to the gate of the community, she saw a car waiting outside. When she saw their car driving over, the people in the car got out. She knew the man, Su Changyang, who had just been here 2 days ago, and the woman, was very unfamiliar. Si Yao just glanced outside lightly, and Su Changyang came over with a flattering smile, "Fourth brother." He rarely calls her that. Si Yao narrowed his eyes slightly and said, "Together." These words were spoken to the security guard on guard. After saying this, he raised the car window and the car slowly drove in. Su Yun looked back and saw the two people getting into the car again, and the car quickly followed. Si Yao didn't wait for them. After entering the house, he took Su Yun's hand and walked into the house. Su Yun wanted to look back, but Si Yao said, "Don't worry about them." After entering the house, Su Yun was about to change her shoes at the entrance, but unexpectedly Si Yao suddenly knelt down and helped her take off her shoes. Su Yun was startled and subconsciously retracted her feet. "What are you doing?" "I'll change your shoes," he looked up and answered naturally. She felt very uncomfortable. "No need, I can do it myself." She quickly changed her shoes, feeling the pressure from behind. She looked back and saw that Su Changyang and the girl had come to the door, and the girl's eyes could almost be described as murderous. Can kill himself with just his eyes. Frowning slightly, this feeling made her very uncomfortable, so she pulled on her slippers and went to get herself a bottle of drink. "Come in," Si Yao said casually. Su Yun then discovered that the servant who usually cleans the house was here today. He usually left after cleaning and rarely stayed. Today, this was Si Yao's order? The servant quickly brought tea, but only prepared 2 cups and placed them in front of Si Yao. Obviously, they were prepared for their 2 masters and not for Su Changyang and others. Si Yao did this on purpose. Standing at the water bar drinking a drink, Su Yun glanced at him, wondering what he was going to do. "Although I don't know the girl, I have already made a guess from the clues. That girl came with Su Changyang. She was full of hostility towards him and looked at her dress. She must be Su Changyang's younger sister, Su Zhenran. More importantly, there was still color on her face. Although it had been slightly concealed by makeup, it was still quite obvious. Judging from the superficial signs, Arian was not bragging, and she indeed had the upper hand. Su Zhenran's eyes have been locked on Su Yun since he entered the door. When he saw her looking at him, his eyes became more ferocious, staring at her hatefully. Su Yun absolutely believed that if these 2 men were not here at this moment, she would definitely pounce on her and cut her into pieces, provided that she had the strength. After confirming their identity, they probably understood their purpose of coming. However, with her appearance, are you sure she really came to apologize and not to accuse? "Fourth brother." Su Changyang smiled and tried to use the title to close the distance so that he could continue the conversation. However, Si Yao said coldly, "You and I don't seem to have any blood relationship. Besides, my surname is Si and your surname is Su. I can't afford to be called fourth brother." He looked polite, but he distanced himself from me in a very unfamiliar way, showing his attitude. He is unhappy, he is very unhappy, so at this time, don't be friends with me. With a dry cough, Su Changyang felt a little embarrassed, but still said with a smile, "Don't be like this. I know what happened this time was a bit reckless, but, I looked at my sister-in-law and still." Before he could finish his words, Su Zhenran pinched him hard, causing him to yelp in pain. "What sister-in-law, what nonsense are you talking about?" "You ran." Su Changyang was particularly helpless. She was obviously here to apologize, but she still looked like this. "Since you are not here to apologize, let's see the guests off." Si Yao waved his hand and showed no mercy at all. "Don't." Su Changyang was about to speak, but Su Zhenran spoke first. "Why should I apologize? It's me who was beaten, fourth brother, can't you see?" She stood up and took a few steps forward, almost touching Si Yao's legs. Look, look. Look at my face. I'm almost disfigured. Can't you see?" How could you so partial? Fourth brother, we grew up together, now you want to ignore me for other women, right? End of this chapter. Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 267. Chapter 267 I hate you, I hate you. Su-Yun raised her eyebrows, and then saw Yao calmly moving his legs to distance himself from her. Another woman, Yao turned his head and looked at Su-Yun, are you talking about her? Su-Yun was still a little uncomfortable when her name was suddenly called. She glared at him angrily, but he laughed. The interaction between the two of them was habitual, and their actions were natural, but in the eyes of others, it was like spreading dog food, especially Su Jinran, who really hated it. More than 10 years ago. She has known Yao for more than 10 years, but she has never seen him show such an expression towards her. That smile was so endearing. If he could smile like that at her, she would be willing to die, but he didn't, never did. But he smiled at that woman, why? And the most important thing is that it was only today that she saw clearly and knew who this vixen was and what he looked like. The person who played tricks on me for a long time that day and then fought with me was not at all, just a fake. It feels very depressing just thinking about it. Come, Yao said warmly, waving to her. Su-Yun didn't want to come over at first, but after all, there were others around, so she still wanted to give him a little face, so she moved closer and stood 2 steps away, squinting at him, what are you doing? I won't eat you, come here, he frowned, very dissatisfied with her keeping a distance. Su-Yun took another step forward. He suddenly grabbed her wrist and pulled her hard into his arms. Then he raised his head and looked at Su Jinran, formal introduction, this is me. My wife, Su-Yun. She is not another woman, she is a very important person to me. Anyone who touches her or hurts her will have trouble with Yao. Su-Yun. Su Changyang. Su Jinran. Su Jinran's face was extremely ugly at this moment. She tried her best to control herself. Every word Yao said just now was so harsh to her. She gritted her teeth and asked, just her? Yes, just her, Yao nodded firmly, Su Jinran, I have said countless times that for the sake of the friendship between the two families, I treat you as my sister. But if you don't want to be the sister, I won't force it, but if anyone dares to hurt my people, I will never let her go. Since she was able to come and have a fight with Wu Arian, she knew that if she found the wrong person, she might find Su-Yun one day. She must warn them again that no one can touch his people. You can't accept me, she clenched her hands into fists and shouted almost hysterically. No, he answered decisively. Such determination made Su Changyang feel a little cruel. He couldn't bear to look at his sister. Tears welled up in Su Jinran's eyes. He held back the tears and stretched his neck to shout at Yao, I hate you. I hate you, hate you. After saying that, she turned around and ran away. After shouting twice without stopping, Su Changyang wanted to chase him out, but he was worried about this side. After all, he came with a mission today, and he must apologize properly and not sour the relationship between the two families. Su Jinran ran home 2 days ago and cried so miserably. Originally, her parents were very angry when they found out that she had been beaten and wanted to find someone to settle the score. Later they found out that she was looking for Yao's fiancé. And it was a big fight between the two sides, so I was a little worried. They all knew what kind of person Yao was. If he was just beaten casually, they could seek justice. But if their daughter came to pick a fight, and they didn't know how badly the other person was injured, it would be difficult to deal with it. After much deliberation, I decided to let my son take my daughter to apologize, which turned this matter into a minor matter. After all, if they were allowed to go, they still couldn't get rid of this old face. Standing up, Su Changyang bowed deeply at 90 degrees, then put away his joking expression and said seriously, "Si Yao, it is indeed my sister who was at fault in this matter. I will give it to you on her behalf. Also apologize to Miss Su. However, you have also seen that she was also hurt. She was not the only one who hurt others. Miss Su is also safe and sound. I hope you can remember the love that Zhen Ran has for you for so many years. Spare her this time. I promise that she will never bother Miss Su again." Su Changyang, who had put away his laughter, was so serious, and his words were also protective of his sister. Si Yao turned his head and looked at Su Yun. "What do you think?" The question was thrown to her again. Su Yun thought for a moment and answered openly, "This incident happened because of me, but it was not me who was hurt, but a friend of mine. So your apology should also be for my friend." "What you said, yes, your sister was indeed injured, but it doesn't mean that both sides were injured, so even if there was a cause and effect, if your sister didn't come to pick a fight or hurt someone, how could she have been injured herself? My friend was also injured. Self-protection. Then what does Miss Su mean?" Su Changyang looked at her and asked. "My meaning is very simple. I apologize for hurting people." After a pause, before he could speak, Su Yun added, "But I have also seen your sister's attitude. It is impossible for her to apologize. Mr. Su is very sincere. I want to believe you, so I will accept this apology for my friend, and I will convey it to you. In addition, my friend was injured, and the medical expenses should be compensated, but my sister was also injured, so let's offset the two." After she finished speaking, she glanced at Si Yao, meaning that it was reasonable for me to handle it this way. He didn't know if Si Yao might have misunderstood, so he said, "Compensation is still required." "That's no problem," Su Changyang said without hesitation, "we are willing to pay for the medical expenses, and we will not pursue Kiran's injuries. I just hope that it will not affect the friendship between our two families for so many years, and that we can still cooperate for a long time in the future." Si Yao nodded, "You know very well, as long as you don't touch my bottom line." Understood. If he didn't know how important this woman was to him before, he knew it very well now. Su Changyang bowed deeply again, "Then I'll take my leave first. I really can't worry about my sister, so I still have to go look for her." Si Yao raised his hand to indicate that he was free, and Su Changyang strode out, clearly in a hurry. "Are you satisfied with how this matter was handled?" After watching the person leave, Si Yao turned to ask her. "Su Yun, so you arranged this on purpose? No matter who it is, no one can hurt you." He gently held her hand, which was his promise. However, Su Yun's focus was on another thing. "By the way, why did he call you fourth brother?" End of this chapter. Si Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 268. Chapter 268. They are all dead. Compared to several other families, the Si family is considered prosperous. The family is very large. From Si Yao's father's generation, there were many children. Until now, the old lady of the Si family, Si Yao's grandmother, is still alive. It's just that he's getting older and doesn't care about things anymore. Si Yao is in charge of all the affairs of the Si family. In other words, his uncle, aunt, etc. also have to listen to him on all matters of the Si family. However, I don't seem to remember that he has any brothers or sisters, so why did he call him fourth brother? Si Yao's hand gently stroked the back of her head, "Because, I am the fourth child." Ah, she was surprised, "Why didn't I know?" After all, this matter is something that cannot be mentioned in the Si family. Not many people outside know about it. Even if they know about it, it has been many years. No one mentioned it and gradually forgot about it, he said lightly. While we are alive, we come and go in a hurry, and we will meet many people and forget many people. When we leave this world, how many people will remember you, and how many people will not forget you? Then, your brother or sister? I asked cautiously. Since it cannot be mentioned, there must be something unspeakable. Brother, in reply to her words, Yao said, I have 3 brothers, but... After a pause, he turned his head and looked at Suyun, his eyes as deep as the sea. They are all dead. Suyun's eyes widened suddenly. Although Suyun was somewhat mentally prepared, she was still shocked when she heard what he said. 3 brothers, that's 3 lives, all dead. Then they are sick. After thinking about it, he speculated on a possibility. Otherwise, given the conditions of the Si family, how could he not be able to preserve his own bloodline? The eldest brother died when he was very young. The second brother was very carefully taken care of by his family, but when he was 6 years old, he had a car accident. As for the third brother, he got sick, I heard, right? After all, I was young then and didn't know much anymore. His tone was very calm, and his demeanor was very natural when he spoke, without any strong emotional ups and downs. However, the calmer he became, the more distressed Suyun felt, and she subconsciously raised her arms to wrap around his neck, hugging him tightly. The 3 brothers above are all dead, so it must be very difficult for him to survive, and he must have been under a lot of pressure. I thought my childhood was unhappy enough, but I didn't expect it would be even worse for him. Later, my mother couldn't stand the excitement and left. Within 2 years, my father followed her. They went to another world to reunite. He even chuckled when he said the last sentence. Yao. She called his name softly, and her heart felt like a needle pricking her heart. She never knew that there was such a secret in the Si family. It turned out that his closest and dearest relatives were no longer there. No wonder he didn't care so much. No wonder he seemed indifferent. I'm here, he responded gently, turning his face and kissing her forehead gently. You don't have to do this. These things have passed for a long time. I don't feel anything anymore, really. I don't care whether you feel anything or not. From now on, I'm here. She will stay with him, always. Of course you are here. Do you still want to run? He chuckled. You can't run even if you want to. Have you been lazy recently? I heard that the progress of Marseille soap is almost there. Knowing that he wanted to change the subject, Suyun did not expose him and acted like a coquettish follower of his words. Where can I find a boss like you who supervises the work even after returning home? If you push me too hard, I will go on strike. You don't know how. You still want to make aromatherapy for your grandpa, Yao said with a smile. Marseille soap is also a new attempt. If the effect is good, there should be more cooperation projects in the future. It will also be easier to open the market in France. He is a businessman with a long-term vision. Suyun doesn't know much about these business aspects, but she knows about fragrance and perfume, and she also knows that it is not easy to expand the international market. Originally, this is the same as ordinary soap, but Marseille soap has special ingredients and is easier to make. So I have been trying to find a balance point. As long as this point is accurate, I want to add different fragrances, and it's not difficult. Suyun has been studying this for the past few days, and she still speaks clearly. I think I have found this point and will succeed soon. I knew my wife was the best. He held her cheek and placed a heavy kiss on her forehead. Suyun's cheeks heated up because of his direct confession. Suyun gave him a gentle push. Stop flattering. After I finish this matter, I will make the aromatherapy for Grandpa as soon as possible, as well as the exclusive perfume that Lisa asked me to prepare for her. I have been really busy recently. Before that, Yao directly picked her up and said, you need to have a good rest first. It is a very ordinary but comfortable house with brick red walls and brick red tiles. What does not match the aesthetics of the building structure outside is that the inside of the house is simply extremely messy. There were wine bottles everywhere. There was a person leaning on the bed in the corner, still holding the bottle in one hand, looking up at the ceiling, his eyes dull and dull. The wine bottle rolling on the ground was kicked away, making a crisp sound of glass collision. However, this movement seemed to have no effect on the man on the bed. He still maintained that posture, raised his head and took a sip of wine. But there may not be much left in the bottle. After only 2 sips, I tilted my head and poured it down hard. It was empty and I threw it to the side in disappointment. Bang, the sound of collision and shattering. Frowning, Yoon Chug-seo walked through the mess and stood in front of the man. How long do you plan to drink? Can't bear to part with it. He raised his eyelids and glanced at her, sneered, picked up another can of beer next to him, pulled the tab, and drank it down. I said, as long as you want to drink, it's up to you. If you want to fall, whatever, it's your own choice anyway. But if you want to stand up, you can always come to me. She stood there, a pile of empty wine bottles and broken glass surrounded her. Wearing a black cashmere coat, she looked noble and refined, which was incompatible with the mess of the place. What can I do if I look for you? Can you help me save my company? Or can you turn back time, if possible? He really wants to turn back time. He regrets too many things, but unfortunately, in this world, there is no regret pill to take. Of course. Yoon Chug-seo paused. No. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 269. Chapter 269, Being a Coward for Life. Then what are you talking nonsense to me here? He sneered. The answer was already clear, and he was just teasing him casually. Yoon Chug-seo looked calm. Looking at his depressed look, the corners of her lips curled up sarcastically. I can't turn back time, but I can make you make a comeback. The company can't be saved, but it can start over. That's easy to say, start over, he chuckled and shook his head. Do you know how difficult it was for me to start this company? I truly started from scratch and got to where I am today step by step. Every bit, every drop, the tables and chairs inside are all my hard work. What should I do with it now? So, let me help you. She walked to him and stood in front of him. Yoon Chug-seo stood there with her hands folded, like a spotless little princess. You help me. He raised his eyelids and looked at her, then smiled mockingly. Forget it. Your life in the Yoon family is not as easy as it seems, so what can you do to help me? He probably knows a little about the situation of the Yoon family. Although Yoon Chug-seo is the only daughter of Yoon Jong-cheng and Yao Ying, Yoon Jong-cheng is particularly patriarchal, so although he loves this daughter, he is not to the point where he wants to inherit the family business. And there is an illegitimate child outside, and he probably wants to leave everything to the illegitimate child. Regarding his ridicule, Yoon Chug-seo was not angry and did not even hide it. Yes, that's right. My situation in the Yoon family is indeed not very good, but at least I am a legitimate and upright eldest lady of the Yoon family, unlike you cannot see the light. You. This sentence touched his sore spot and made him angry. So no matter what, I always have more capital than you. So I'm not joking when I say I help you. I can definitely do it. What do you think? Do you want to consider cooperating with me? Yoon Chug-seo Chow. He offered an olive branch and was sure he would take it. Why do you want to cooperate with me? His eyes were full of doubts. With my current situation, I can't help you at all. If you are looking for someone to cooperate with, there are many candidates. There are indeed many candidates, but, you are the most suitable. After one word, Yoon Chug-seo looked at him and said with certainty. Yeah. If possible, I really don't want to admit you as my brother, but I can't help it. Who told my mother to have you before she gave birth to me? I can't let her put you back into her belly. Since we are the same mom gave birth to a child, so we should be on the same front, right? Yoon Chug-seo kept her distance and did not go any further. After all, the smell around him was very pungent. After she picked him up that day, she placed him here and sent a reliable person to take care of him. He drank and slept every day, day after day, as if he was going to die of drunkenness here. Now, she felt it was time to come to him and have a talk. Come on, do you think I will believe it? He turned his head and smiled. He threw the can aside and ran around with his hands. He probably didn't find anything. He turned to look at her and asked, "Do you have any cigarettes?" Yoon Chug-seo took out a box from her bag, took out another and handed it to him, and threw him a lighter. Thanks. After thanking him, he lit the cigarette, took a long drag, then narrowed his eyes and slowly exhaled it bit by bit. Whether you or I want to admit it or not, we are indeed blood relatives, Yoon Chug-seo still emphasized. Mom thought she didn't know, but in fact, not only her, but Dad had also known about it for a long time. Mom also had a son outside, the son of her ex-husband. The reason why I didn't reveal it and pretended not to know is that the Yoon family still needs a mother. She needs to be in charge of internal affairs and handle all the big and small affairs of the family. The identity of the matron of the family cannot be changed easily. Of course, and also to maintain the poor face of the wealthy family and avoid being ridiculed. Since the mother handled the matter carefully and had no intention of taking him back, the father would just turn a blind eye. Luo Yuanhang obviously didn't agree with what she said. Then if you say that, why don't you just go to your brother? You and he are born to the same father. What do you mean by having the same mother, not to mention half-father? Even if they are full brothers and sisters with the same father and mother, there are still various schemes and uses to play this kind of family card with him. Sorry, that doesn't work. I know you don't believe it, and I won't hide it from you. Yes, I asked you to cooperate, not only because you are my brother who is related by blood, but more importantly, you are not that big of a danger to me. As expected of being born to the same mother, they are equally suspicious. Of course, they understand each other better and know what the real point of trust is. Oh, Luo Yuanhang raised his eyebrows, took a puff of cigarette, and motioned for her to continue. You also know that my younger brother has the same father as me. I might as well tell you that my father intends to take him back to the Yoon family. He wants to enter him into the family tree so that he can legitimately take over the Yoon family industry. Do you think there might be a cooperative relationship between me and him? Her words surprised Luo Yuanhang. He didn't expect Yoon Zhongcheng to have such thoughts. But he concealed his inner thoughts, shrugged and said, who knows? If we take him back, you will just become siblings, wouldn't it be more enjoyable? What nonsense are you talking about? At this moment, Yoon Chug-seo lost her gentleness and demureness. She grabbed Luo Yuanhang's collar, pulled him closer, and stared at him fiercely. If that outside taking it in, the next step is his vixen mother. When the time comes, not to mention that there is no place for me in the Yoon family, do you think our mother can still sit still? If she loses in this battle, Luo Yuanhang, you will never have a chance to turn around in this life. Seeing his stunned look, Yoon Chug-seo let go of her hand in disgust and pushed him down hard. Oh, I forgot. Maybe you didn't want to turn over, you just wanted to be a turtle for the rest of your life. I can only hide in such a dark corner, like a poor man, relying on beer and dreaming day and night. Ah, I forgot to tell you, Soo-yoon, is your ex-girlfriend, right? Hearing Soo-yoon's name, Luo Yuanhang's eyes lit up. She and Si-yao, the president of Uniasia, are about to hold a wedding, but what about you? You have nothing and can only hide in the corner and cry. I really, look down on you. He clapped his hands, as if tugging on his collar as if her hands were dirty. Yoon Chug-seo turned around proudly. Okay, you can continue like this. But if one day, Mom can no longer stay in the Yoon family, your hiding place will be gone. Looking up and looking around, the smile on her face was really ironic. End of this chapter. Si Shao's sweet wife, she is doted on. Author, Jin Yet. Chapter 270. Chapter 270. Because your surname is not Yoon. I'll cooperate with you, Luo Yuan Hang suddenly said loudly. Yoon Chug-seo stopped, turned around, and looked back. I'll cooperate with you, he repeated it again. He struggled to sit up from the bed, and the bottles and cans around him fell to the floor, making a ringing sound. What do you want me to do? Yoon Chug-seo raised the corners of her lips and laughed. Don't worry, I will never cheat you. She turned back and stood in front of him again. I have a few people who specialize in helping me do things. It is an organization, but there are some things. It's not convenient for me to come forward, and it's not convenient for me to say some things. It's all up to you. To put it bluntly, you just want me to do the dirty things for you. Luo Yuan Hang chuckled, but he didn't expect that a girl like her who looked at Ween Wen as weak would actually do this, if she hadn't said it herself. He couldn't believe it. Don't say that. What is dirty and what is clean in this world? As long as you can achieve your goal, who cares how you do it, she said disapprovingly. Look at how big the Si family's property is now. Are Si Yao's hands clean? There is no one in the Yoon family or even the He family in the imperial capital who dares to say that they are innocent. Okay, I'm not arguing with you about this, and I didn't say I wouldn't do it, but, since you can already do it yourself, why are you still looking for me? It's not easy to become a dark organization. Will she trust him with such power? As if she had seen through what he was thinking, Yoon Chug-seo said, you don't have to worry about this. Since I dare to leave it to you, I am sure that I can handle it. However, I have too many things to do, and I always need someone to help me. But what's the benefit to me? Since it's cooperation, we always have to talk about benefits. No one is willing to cooperate without benefits. Of course. Although there are not many people in my organization, they are all elites. In addition to conveying my orders, you can also use them as long as it is not too excessive. Of course, after the matter is completed, wouldn't it be more efficient to give you some of the Yoon family's property than to start from scratch? It is indeed very tempting to say it like this, but Luo Yuan Hang is still very doubtful. Are you willing to share the Yoon family's property with me? If I can get it all, there's nothing wrong with giving you a little, she shrugged and said matter-of-factly. You want to get them all? Luo Yuan Hang was shocked. He thought that she just wanted to fight for a part. Rich families fight for family property. This happens everywhere, but he didn't expect that she was so greedy that she wanted all of it. Smiling sarcastically, Yoon Chug-seo turned around and said calmly, since you have decided to fight, of course you must fight thoroughly. Otherwise, why would I have spent so much effort? What's wrong with women? Don't think that women can't take charge of the family business. I want to prove that not only can I, Yoon Chug-seo, I can do it, but I can do it better. Her eyes shone with unwillingness. Ever since she was a child, she has always been excellent in her homework and has come up with several good ideas in the company's business. However, these are nothing in the eyes of her father. He has never seen her efforts. Just because of her, it's a woman. In this case, she will take everything away so that the little outside can't get a dime. Not only him, but also the unsatisfactory son of the uncle's family who only knows how to carve and carve on wood all day long. She wants everyone to see her strength. Anyway, if you help me, it will definitely benefit you, she said confidently. When the time comes, you have the capital, won't it be easy to turn around? Aren't you afraid that like them, will steal your family business. After thinking about it, Luo Yuanhang asked tentatively. Ha ha ha. Yun Chugzio laughed out loud, disapprovingly, are you kidding me? Do you know why I came to you? Because, your surname is not Yun, she said every word. Your surname is not Yun. You are not from the Yun family. No matter how much you want the Yun family's property, even if your identity is exposed, it has nothing to do with you. So Yun Chugzio will be afraid of the son of the mistress outside, but she is not so hostile to Luo Yuanhang. Without him, there is no conflict of interest. I will find a suitable time to come find you again. Before that, I hope that the next time I see you, you will not be like this. Putting on her sunglasses, she left as quietly as she came. Marseille soap has entered the final stage, and it is almost done. Su Yun handed over the remaining finishing parts to Arian. In fact, it means waiting for the final data, making records, etc., and it is almost ready to be put into production. She took the time to make the aromatherapy for her grandpa at home. After all, personal matters cannot take up work time. The main thing she is busy with now is Lisa's exclusive perfume. In fact, there are precedents for this kind of thing, but it is still difficult for a small-scale new student to receive such a job. Lisa is also a relatively well-known model in the world. If it were not for her personal relationship with Su Yun, she would not be able to do it. Maybe find a new student. The company is also quite optimistic about this. After all, if she can do it well and become famous, it will be of great benefit to Su Yun personally and to the company. There were a lot of raw materials in front of her, but Su Yun didn't rush to choose which one. Instead, she stood there and thought about it seriously. In fact, when making an exclusive customized perfume, the most important thing is to first understand the user herself. There are thousands of flavors of perfume, but since it is an exclusive perfume, it should suit her own temperament. Although Lisa is a model, it can be seen that she is trying her best to be mature and sexy, but she still cannot escape the pure temperament of a girl, so how to perfectly integrate the two is the biggest problem. I smelled them one by one, and roughly stored the impression in my mind. I quickly jotted down a few preliminary ideas with a pen, and the time passed unknowingly. When I came out of the company, I saw a man wandering not far across the road. It was quite unexpected to see him here. Su Yun glanced twice, and he happened to be looking in this direction. When he saw her for the first time, he quickly dodged his eyes, but after 2 seconds, he moved over to look at her again. It seems that something happened. Su Yun walked over quickly and asked openly, "What, you want to see me if you need something?" Yun Chueo nodded, but quickly shook his head, not knowing what he meant. "Hey, I haven't seen you for a while, is your tongue gone, can't you even speak?" Su Yun deliberately teased him. "You just lost your tongue, as expected, a person's temper will not change so easily if he is not provoked." Su Yun smiled triumphantly and said to his annoyed eyes, "Tell me, what do you want from me?" End of this chapter.